My hair is wet because I just came from the gym, which I'm never going back to ever again because that thing over there that's staring at me bit my waterproof headphones in half, so now I can't swim without... You can't go back to swimming without listening to music when you've been swimming while listening to music. I swear to God, stop scratching at shit. You're such a butt. You're such a piece of butt. I hate you. I say the stupidest shit to this poor little animal. She's very well loved. Don't even worry about that. Anyway, let's keep going with Onizi shit's novella. Chapter 2. Oh, fuck. The following morning, Mr. Hanson approached me in the hall before class started. "We're supposed to talk," he said in his usual stern voice. I responded, "I know, but what about?" He began gesturing with his hands as he often did, I guess it was a habit he developed to trick people into believing he was saying something interesting. Or some people just talk with their fucking hands. "You know you're a smart kid, but you keep showing up late to my classes and it's becoming a problem," he said, with no comma after the word problem. Like, do you have any flaws, James? Do you have any fucking flaws that you... Or is everybody just kissing your ass, basically, while simultaneously pissing you off? Surprised he showed genuine interest, I replied with a smirk. Wow, that is not worded correctly at all. I replied with a smirk. "I'll do better in the future." I totally believe you. He continued, "All right, well, I wanted to ask you about a TA opportunity. TA. I replied. "You don't have a teacher's assistant?" I watched a bead of sweat fall down his balding forehead as he responded. Like the way Greg sets up dialogue, it is so mechanical and it doesn't flow. It's like, I said this, yes he did, and I responded with this, and then I came back with this, and I responded! Fucking, oh god. "The last TA moved, and yeah, you're not always on time, but you get your work done honestly and efficiently." He fucking railroaded fucking his honesty in here. Oh, no, you didn't. Oh, you fucking idiot. I can't believe you. Ugh. Like they're not even having a conversation right now. They're just bloviating about just nothing. Like, this is just an excuse for Mr. Hanson to tell James, like, you know, you're a good guy. You're never on time, but you're a good guy. You know you're never on time, right? You want to be a TA? Oh, I asked, "Okay, Mr. Hanson, next semester?" He authoritatively replied, "No, you can just take an elective class credit and I'll let your current teacher know you'll be working with me from here on." Then he starts a paragraph, which he kind of doesn't need to. This hurts my head. Blah, blah, blah. "I immediately thought of the possibility of losing art class and rejected the idea." Just imagine Greg, like, saying this in his, like, voice. Like, "My only elective is art class right now, and I don't want to give that up," I said. Fucking, you just said that. You just said that with your narration. He took a step back looking offended. Oh, I'm not doing the dramatic voice. He took a step back looking offended and lost his temper. In a disgruntled tone, he said, "Art? Art class is a joke, James. Tell me one person you know who's making a living painting pictures." All the students nearby in the hall stopped and looked towards the shouting. You can't look at shouting. You hear shouting! You hear it! Look towards who was shouting. That's all you needed to fucking put. I looked at Mr. Hanson unaffected, reminding him I would not give it up. I wasn't about to sacrifice the one class I had with Abby for alone time with a sweaty, anger-prone history teacher. Psychotic. That's creepy, you know. I mean, that's like a very high school mindset, though. Like, you don't want to... That's not even high school. That's like grade school shit. I will tell you a story really quick, offhanded. There was this guy when I was in 6th grade that I had a huge crush on, and I used to be an altar server at church, if you can believe that. I used to altar serve, and I switched with somebody so I could altar serve with this guy one fucking Saturday night, and it turned out that he got hit in the face with a baseball and had like a really big puffy black eye the whole time, and I was like, oh my god. I'm an asshole. I was like, oh, gross, but then he got rid of the black eye and got cute again. That guy's like married with 2 kids now, and I'm still single as fuck. So whatever. It worked out for both of us. So, anyway, let's keep going. Mr. Hanson looked at everyone, stopped in the hall, and screamed, "Oh, ha ha! Everyone look at Mr. Hanson! He's such a goof! Move along, kids!" Wow. Like these... All of a sudden, Mr. Hanson has an anger problem because Greg decided that. Like, all of a sudden. It really kind of came out of nowhere. I don't remember Mr. Hanson having any sort of issue. He just wanted to talk to James. Fucking. Everyone just looked at him as he turned back to me, maintaining his clearly frustrated posture. Like, every sentence I can critique. Every fucking sentence. Like, there's like no good ones. He then waddled into his classroom to begin class. I reluctantly entered with the remaining students to sit at my desk, which was conveniently placed within broomstick range from Mr. Hanson's desk. What? Broomstick? Is broomstick used, like, outside of witch contexts? Like, what does that have to do with anything? That's just nothing. That's just, like, I'm close to his desk. Why is that? It's convenient for Mr. Hanson. It's not convenient for you, narrator. So why are you saying, like... You know, I'm really trying. I have the biggest fucking headache in the world right now. I think I light too much incense and, like, sit in front of it. After enduring another useless history lesson revolving around my home state of Washington, it was finally time for art class. Oh, joys upon joys. I walked as fast as I could without looking too awkward in my normal fashion, only to find Abby wasn't even in the room. Oh no, sound the alarms. I sat down in my new seat and waited, only to see everyone but her fill the room. Mrs. Stanley closed the door to our class trailer and instructed us to begin dismembering the possessions we brought from home. I began cutting the bear with a scalpel Mrs. Stanley provided me, but my muscles seemed to work on their own as I found myself consumed with Abby again, her overwhelming presence on the edge of every thought fragment in my mind. Holy fuck. Like, you needed so many... commas in here. You needed, like, I began cutting with the bear with a scalpel Mrs. Stanley provided me, comma, but my muscles seemed to work on their own. Period. I found myself consumed with Abby again. Her, like, pretty much, this is just a stream of conscious that he wrote down and didn't look at again. Like, barely looked at again, because he's so doing this as he's fucking writing it that he's like, oh yeah, oh, like, I totally get it. Oh, everybody fucking loves this shit. Everybody knows what the fuck I'm talking about. That's too generous. Maybe like this. Sorry. Sean, you guys know Sean from all my video games. He and I were talking one night about art and creating art, and I was saying to him, like, you know, there's times where I read my book and I'm like, this is the worst piece of shit in the entire world. Like, what do I do? Like, how do I get... Oh, like, there's some days where I'm like, this is so good, everybody's gonna love this. And then there's other days where I'm like, no, fuck, I want to just delete it and start again. And he told me, which I thought was really interesting, and I didn't even think of this, is he said, you know your characters the best. You know your story the best. So either you see it over and over again and you either get tired of it at that moment, or you get frustrated to the point where you don't think that it makes sense to anybody but you. And I'm like, oh, no, that does make sense. It is like, it's a good point, and it's something to keep in mind. What Greg did is he just wrote down his stream of consciousness expecting everybody to get it. And the fact that this character is so consumed with Abby for really, like, I don't see a reason as to why. There's no explanation to that. He hates everybody. There's no explanation to that. It's very hard to follow. It's very hard to follow. I feel like only fans of Greg would even consider strumming one out to this shit. Let's keep going, though. Just a short while into class, I found myself looking down at my bear, now cut into 6 pieces. Like, I don't know, maybe I just don't get art, but I would never, ever destroy my teddy bear. Ever! That shit is way too... He's up there. He's way too important to me to ever cut with a scalpel. I felt like I was in a science lab dissecting an actual animal, the most noticeable difference being that the cotton stuffing didn't look like or stink of old flesh and death like real animals did. Oh, okay. Yeah, that's a little telling and a little creepy. You know, I mean, I think we can all assume that a dead animal smells bad. I dissected a frog in 7th grade. I remember it smelling gross, but I don't remember smelling like death. I don't know. That's just... Anyway, later that day during lunch. Okay, we're done with the art class then. Due to my mom not being able to afford buying me a cell phone, I used a payphone to call Abby but got no answer. It's just so bad. I didn't feel like eating, so the rest of lunch I just sat on a bench outside staring at people interacting with each other. You did? Really? James, tell me more. I'm so excited to hear about this. Because this is all he fucking does besides mentally jerk off about Abby. I've been talking about jerking off all day. I'm sorry. Got stuff on my mind all the time. I made a major effort to distract myself, knowing that focusing on what could be... Sorry. I made a major fucking shitballs. I made a major effort to distract myself, knowing that focusing on what could be was mostly a waste, considering I was so powerless to influence any change at that point. What the fuck does that mean? Even just watching the bushes move around in the wind made more sense to me than letting worry consume me. Why? Why? Is this all because Abby was not in class? Then tell us that, because it's not translating. He's just fucking upset. The last time he was, like, the last instance we had of him doing something besides being in the lunchroom was fucking looking down at 6 pieces of a bear. Is that supposed to symbolize something? Is the bear himself? How he's all torn up about fucking not fucking Abby at this point? Why do I try? Later that night, I had just... This is so rushed, it's not even fucking funny. Like, this isn't funny anymore. You're not supposed to laugh at this shit. Later that night, after I just finished my shower, I placed the one cordless phone we had in my house next to my bed on my windowsill. Prepositionally fucked in half. I would have dialed her, but I didn't want to call more than once a day for fear of wearing out my welcome. That night, you just said later that night. Later that night, but now it's that night. That night, a few different calls came in, but they were always for my sister Lisa. Her receiving a barrage of phone calls from random guys with nothing new to anyone in the house. Oh, your sisters, just kidding. The normal conversation you could expect. You don't need to start a new paragraph here, but he did. The normal conversation you could expect to hear Lisa take part in, with excessive projection in her voice, would most always revolve around how stupid she thought other girls at school were, and how she basically hates everything about Lakewood High. Your whole family is fucking you. You hate Lakewood High. So why is it, so, ornery? Why are you so fucking ornery that your sister's talking about basically the same thing that you fucking hate? Ugh. I didn't want to know what she was talking about, ever, but my TV volume couldn't compete with her voice. It was like she thought she was so important, everyone around her had to just hear everything she had to say, no matter how trivial the topic. That's some delicious irony. The irony? It's not really irony. It's hilariously coincidental. Excuse me. After a couple hours, she finally stopped running her mouth. When are you gonna fucking stop running your mouth? So I turned off my TV, and with it, my room faded to darkness. What? I turned off my TV, and with it, my room faded to darkness. I welcomed the silence like a warm blanket on a cold night. Oh, what a simile that is. I woke up the next morning to see the phone sitting there just like my stupid alarm clock. Useless and unbearably annoying to look at. Why are you slamming fucking, alarm clocks? What do you have against alarm clocks? What'd they ever fucking do to you? I expected it to sound off at some point, but like the clock, it failed to deliver. Just irrational hatred for clocks. How much do I have left? I've been doing this for 17 minutes already. Oh my god. Oh, fuck me in the ass. Oh, it goes, oh god, it goes for so long, no! Alright, let's fucking do it. Nah. It was raining outside. Clouds filled the sky in normal Lakewood fashion. I wasn't going to skate to school this time. Literally skate? Ice skate? For fear it would rust my skates and hinder my ability to skate fast, if even at all. You are so fucking verbose. You are so verbose to the point where all you had to do is say, I wasn't gonna skate because I didn't want to rust up the wheels. That's all you had to fucking say. Ugh. Instead, I decided to ride the bus, pretending for only moments I really had a choice. For only moments? Really? No. As I climbed up the bus steps, Davis rang out, "Hallelujah, James is here to save everyone from the evil clouds." Is Davis, have some sort of mental defect? Because he has no personality other than he blowjobs. I'm gonna start using blowjobs as, a verb. Blowjobbing something. Because that's what fucking Davis is doing. He's blowjobbing James over here. Not physically, metaphorically. I genuinely smiled for the first time that morning, thanks to him. As usual, I sat next to the window seat that Davis courteously always offered me. Oh, isn't he so nice and polite? Yes. At the beginning of history class, we just are at history class now, cool, was the same old story. As usual, I barely paid attention. So, what is all this bullshit with Mr. Hanson telling him he's such a good student if he doesn't fucking pay attention to anything? What's that about? We don't know, because Greg did not tell us. I just thought about Abby and hoped she was okay. Interrupting my thoughts of Abby came a very rude outburst by Jason. Wow. Like, fuck you, for real. It was odd to hear his voice, as I wasn't supposed to see him till art class. He stood outside our closed class door, waving his hands in hopes of disrupting us. It was clearly for no real reason more meaningful than a toddler would have invoking chaos. Let me start this again, because I cannot believe this. It was clearly for no real reason more meaningful than a toddler would have in invoking chaos around their immediate environment. A toddler, their environment. Nope. A toddler, you're speaking about one toddler, you'd have to say around his or her immediate environment. Or you could just scrap the whole bullshit metaphor to begin with, because it sucks. Some people just want to get an emotional reaction to their behavior. Some people, their behavior. Yeah, no, that's okay. Just some people just want to get an emotional reaction to their behavior so they can feel a sense of power or control. Isn't that what you do, Greg? Isn't that what you do? You want to intentionally piss people off with your stupid voices and your stupid words because you want to feel power or control? Did we just find out the secret of Onision right here? I think we did. I think we knew that. But Jason began banging on the door. Wasn't he fucking doing that already? Why did he begin? So Mr. Hanson walked over and opened the door and asked, "Why aren't you in your class?" Jason responded, saying, "Got kicked out, what's up?" No new paragraph. "Go stand outside your class till it's over." The way he's using till, it's T-I-L-L, which is like a till in a register. Isn't it just like apostrophe T-I-L? Correct me if I'm wrong, I don't know. Because I don't believe I use this word. I don't use that word when I write anchor scripts, and I haven't used it in my book because it's too colloquial. He used it in narration, and now he's using it in dialogue, which is okay. I don't know. The way that it's written, I just see T-I-L-L, and I immediately think of like a cashier's till. Mr. Hanson commanded. Jason rebelliously replied. Seriously, like, it's painful! It is painful to see how he sets up his dialogue. So, he didn't add a new paragraph. It says, "Go stand outside your class till it's over." No comma. Mr. Hanson commanded, comma. Jason rebelliously replied, comma. "Don't tell me what to do, fatty." Jason rebelliously replied. I'm not gonna tell people to never use adverbs, but pick your adverbs. Like, pick your battles, pick your adverb battles, because there's no reason to say rebelliously replied. Because calling a teacher fatty is in itself rebellious. You don't need to re-emphasize the fact that it's rebellious. I could see Mr. Hanson was about to lose it, so I interrupted. "No one wants you here, Jason." Mr. Hanson looked back at me with a look of surprise. He seemed shocked I would say anything on his behalf. He seemed shocked. Way to go! Way to edit, Lainey and fucking Greg. Jason became extremely silent. That's one of the things. You can't be extremely silent. You either be silent or you're not silent. There's no, it's like you can't be extremely deaf. You're either deaf or you're not. So, that is a totally unneeded adverb. Now refusing to look anywhere but at me. His glare was intense, but it seemed so forced, like he wasn't really offended, but didn't want to look weak in front of everyone else. The fact that I know I'm stopping a lot, and I know you probably don't even know what's going on at this point, because nobody fucking does except for Greg. The fact that there are so many inferences of how other people are feeling, he probably shouldn't have written this in first person. He probably should have written this in third person, because there is no way, unless James is in himself a fucking mind reader, there's no way for him to tell how other people are reacting to what he says or what he thinks. It just doesn't make any sense. So, Mr. Hanson then closed the door inches away from Jason's nose, but that didn't stop him from staring intensely through the vertical window slot in the door. He remained so still and consistent in his stare, it was almost as if he had become a red-faced, almost cartoonish portrait hanging on the door. Cool. As class came closer to an end, Jason was no longer staring at me and wasn't even visible from my perspective. Like, okay, Jason's not at the door then? Knowing Jason had something left to prove, many of the students naturally assumed he was somewhere within the immediate vicinity. I'm struggling real hard. I could tell most everyone was concerned as they kept looking back at me, wondering what I was going to do about the clearly unstable and enraged jock that no doubt was still lurking just outside our door. How many times do you have to say that, oh my gosh, he might be outside the door? How many times do you have to say it? Why do you give a shit all of a sudden what all the other people in the class are thinking? That they care about you? What the fuck? Every kid in there knew I couldn't just hide out in the class. See? I was sure this was some kind of victory for Mr. Hanson. No, you're not sure. You don't fucking know. You don't know what they are thinking because you are not them. He knew I couldn't have this immediate problem had I accepted his offer to TA for him. My decisions led me to this. Oh, Jesus. Semicolon. I built a doorway to certain destruction, and I knew if I was going to be brave, I had to walk through it. This all stems from him saying nobody wants you here. That it just seems very disproportionate. And frankly, unbelievable. I didn't have time to deal with the hesitating once class was over. Seeing Abby was my real priority. No, Abby. I walked out with the class just like I normally did, only this time Jason was following close behind, as I'm sure most everyone assumed he would. How, stop! Stop assuming shit about people! I was about to leave the main building to head over to the art trailer, only to feel a hand grab my shoulder. The hand slipped as I pulled away, nails scraping along my skin to clamp on my shirt. I was then yanked swiftly back from the main hall door. It began. Dun dun dun! I yanked my shirt aggressively out of his hand. Whose hand? Whose hand? We assume Jason's probably. But what if it's not? And clutched my now scratched-up shoulder. I was now facing Jason. See, he didn't, there was no reason for us to even believe that was Jason. Just because he was falling close behind. Could have been somebody else. Could have been a lackey helping Jason. I don't fucking know. Oy, okay. I was now facing Jason, who immediately lunged at me and threw me into the already half-broken hall door just behind me. You don't need just behind me. We kind of fucking get it if you're being thrown. Right? Okay, I bounced back from the impact and pushed Jason in the center of his chest to distance him from me so I could continue walking away. Then why say it began? It began. Meaning a fight is about to begin and you're gonna walk away. Without hesitation, he used my response to justify further violence and began throwing punches. I was knocked to the ground within seconds. Of course you were, because of course you fucking, suck at fighting. And he began trying to pull off my backpack, resulting in me being briefly dragged across the floor like a helpless child. He should have had a comma after backpack. Greg just does not know how to use commas. He apparently was not paying attention in his classes, because in here his character doesn't pay attention to classes. Ow, my elbow, for fuck's sake. Oh, don't look at my belly. Don't look at it's getting smaller, but don't look at it. Okay. Alright. Let's keep going. I don't... Apparently there's, some sex in here, which I'm interested in hearing the sex scene from Greg. Because there's a sex scene in my book, too. And, are you gonna jump up? And you kind of draw on your own experiences with that stuff. It might frighten me reading about it here. Except my sex scene makes sense, okay? It happened sequentially. Anyway, fuck off. Alright, let's go. Where the hell am I? I was now a couple yards away from the door I was trying to leave through. I thought he was in the hall. Okay. I don't know. I don't know where this door came from all of a sudden. I'm sorry. I twisted away to return to a standing position while simultaneously snatching my backpack so hard that it flew out of my hands and smacked the door behind me, leaving a huge crack in the glass. I could hear glass falling off the door behind me. Oh my god, this is so fucking mechanical. I don't know where he is in accordance with the door. I don't know. I'm trying. People began to gather around us, and like a chemical reaction, they began screaming just as they did before. When did they scream before? Oh, right, in the hallway with Mr. Hanson. Okay. Much of what was happening was a blur, but I remember they would scream every time Jason hit me throughout the irrefutably one-way fight. Greg's playing the victim again, y'all. It quickly got to the point where I didn't even feel the punches. I could only hear them laughing and yelling as Jason swung again and again. I've never seen a fight in high school. Is that really, really? Is this what's happening? I kept falling over and over, but every time I would return to stand, only to fail at defending myself from further blows. I kept falling over and over, but every time I would return to stand, only to fail at defending myself from further blows. That could have been worded better, but it was worded awfully. I didn't block a single hit. I didn't even throw one punch at him. I'm the victim here. I'm the victim. As my nose began to bleed, one of the boys my sister was friends with, Matthew, grabbed me and pulled me out of the fight. He was twice my size, but was also on Jason's football team. So, there needs to be a comma there. So naturally he did nothing to help me win. The only thing he offered me was an end to the beating I was suffering. So, can you even call this a fight? Or is it just some kid wailing on another kid for no reason? For really no reason. This is a totally disproportionate retribution. Shortly after the fight ended, I found myself sitting on a mattress in the nurse's office. Somebody texted me. It vibrated. It did it again. Not allowed to leave. Not allowed to do anything but think about what happened. Like, you're not even on James's side at this point. What is happening? Is somebody, like, I think, give me a second, I'm sorry. You're not on James's side because, everything he says, like, you're just, fuck you, Sadie. I'm just kidding. Oh, she's so cute, I can't stand it. But she's staring me down, that's creepy. I don't know you. It's weird. Like, you're supposed to, like, feel bad for James, right? Because he just got wailed on for really no reason. But I don't. I don't feel anything for this guy. Because he's an asshole. Despite everything in my head feeling scrambled and disorganized, there was Abby waiting in the same place, just as she sat in the back of class. She radiated warmly in the back of my mind. As lunch approached... Oh, right. I'm sorry, this is a different day. Okay. As lunch approached, Principal Lehman, who we know nothing about, came into the room I was staying in at the nurse's office. It's implied that you're staying in the nurse's office. You don't need to say you were staying in at the nurse's office. Jesus, that's like a totally needless preposition. And asked me how I was feeling. You don't even give Principal Lehman a line of dialogue. We don't know if Principal Lehman is a male or a female. Thanks. I responded, well, my tooth is chipped, my chin hurts, my face is bruised, and I just got humiliated in front of my peers. Really? Mr. Lehman, not a, principal. Mr. Lehman said, I've gotten multiple statements saying you pushed him. What's your response? Fucking, really? Okay. I replied, I pushed him back after he pushed me first. All I did was push him back once, and then he did this to my face. I made a circular motion around my face, showing how one-sided the fight way. Wow, that's what it says. I made a circular motion around my face, showing how one-sided the fight way. Probably was, but you suck at copy editing. The audacity of you to charge people $6 for this bullshit is astounding. That's what's fucked up, okay? You can write a book, whatever, that's fine. But to charge people money, especially $6 for about 100 and something pages, $6 for a first book that is basically a first draft. Like, where do you get the fucking balls to do that? That's unreal. Principal Lehman said in a commanding voice. Well, he's suspended for 10 days. Comma. He paused and I felt relief, assuming the principal was on my side. You don't need to capitalize principal, which he did. But then he continued, comma, you will be suspended for 2 days. Oh, God, it's just so... The way the dialogue is formatted is so far and away incorrect. Like, I have not seen one paragraph with, like, correct dialogue formation. I was surprised they would suspend someone just for just pushing back when they are pushed. That's public schools for ya. You get fucking expelled if you hit somebody that's bullying you. So shut the fuck up, Greg. You don't know you haven't read. You don't read the news. You don't read anything. You just live in your own fucking mind. So I've been doing this for 40 minutes already, and I'm like not even close to being done. What was I supposed to do? Just ignore being assaulted? If school meant to teach us how to survive in the real world, Absolutely does not. And in the real world, you are legally allowed to defend yourself. How could they justify this punishment? Really, Greg, all you're doing is, really what he's doing right now. It's gonna sound so twisted. He has created his very own Sonichu comic. Like Chris Chan, who drew a comic book to quote-unquote right some of the wrongs that have happened to him in life based on real-world experience of his. And he's making it, he turned it into this comic where he is the hero in all these foibles that happen to him in real life. And I feel like that's what Greg is doing. He probably got beaten up one time in high school and pushed somebody back and got suspended for 2 days. I guarantee that shit happened to him. And we know absolutely nothing about Principal Lehman. We know nothing. We know nothing about any of these characters other than their names. And I feel like we don't even know what Abby looks like, and he's so obsessed with her. That's what's really weird. And I think when you are creating characters, what they look like is pretty fucking important. I mean, yeah, like there's parts where you want to let your readers like fill in the blanks, I guess. But I don't know you don't know what anybody looks like. Like, not even like an inkling, not even like what color hair they have. That's like 101 when you're creating characters. Like, what do they look like? I mean, even if it's just like subtle hints that you're dropping. Like, she ran fingers through her long brunette hair and got caught because her hair is a tangled mess of terror. Anyway, Principal Lehman informed me I could finish up the day and not return for the following 2 days. You should be at least grateful for that. Jason was escorted off the grounds entirely, he said. He did it correctly. He put a comma, closed quotations, and said he said. That's what we like to say. Principal Lehman, you don't need to say his name again, stared at me sitting there, helpless and about to break down. Okay, then see you again in a few days, he said, and quickly walked out. Like Principal Lehman should have just come in and been like, here's some exposition, and then just left. Which is basically what he did. All I could focus on feeling in that moment was the tacky ice pack on my face and a sinking feeling of worthlessness. What is a tacky ice pack? I'd like to know that. It is not something I like to admit, but the truth is I cried seconds after Principal Lehman left the room. Okay. The type of cry you suppress. SUPPRESS. But your eyes still become red. Your body trembles, ampersand. Painfully hot tears still fall. Your eyes still become red. You fucking suck. It was the type of sadness that made a person ache to their core. A person ache to their core. Yeah. Swish that around in your mouth for a little bit. Made a person ache to his or her core. But you don't even need... But you do your best to hold on. To not lose yourself to your emotions like you would so carelessly do as a child. Wow. This is like... this is just bad. This is just bad. And it's, I don't feel bad saying it's bad, but I feel like, somebody took the time to write this all down. Just, it's the fact that you charged money for something that you clearly just wanted to say you finished. You didn't take the time to do any sort of research, to do any sort of care for editing, to let anybody besides your fucking wife read it, and yourself. It's just so... Here we go. I sat in the room alone till I could collect myself. Shortly after, I gathered my stuff and proceeded to finishing my classes. Oh, see, do you see why I read it like that? Because he didn't have a comma after shortly after. Yeah, that's why. Shortly after, comma, I gathered my stuff and proceeded to finishing my classes for the day. That doesn't make sense either. Proceeded to finish my class for the day. If you wanted to keep all those words there. I also asked a couple of my teachers about any work I would miss so I could keep up while I was suspended, but didn't have the motivation to stop by every single class before leaving the school entirely. And what about him, screams good student at this point? He just doesn't care about anything. But apparently I just feel like you can see I feel you can see my heart breaking. As I was about to get on the bus home, I looked over to see Abby again in the parking lot with her boyfriend Seth. They were standing by his car. Those 6 words are like the only coherent thought in this entire mess of terror. Hello, Sadie. Hello, you're so cute, but you're such an asshole. It makes sense because you're my cat. This time, they were not showing affection. In fact, she seemed like she wasn't even willing to look at him, despite him clearly and aggressively speaking to her. You're looking at her through a fucking bus window! How, oh, God. Without a second's thought, I shifted away from the bus and began walking over to Abby to see if she was okay. He's about to get on the bus, so he's, on the bus, and he's, looking away. That hurt my neck. And, yeah, so you're just fucking... No. I'm sorry. That was just... I can't. Ugh. Okay. Not okay-ay, just okay. The more I could hear Seth's tone as I approached, the more worried I became. Seth reacted to me, here we go, like a guard dog in a ghetto-fenced yard. What the fuck does that mean? Once he realized I was headed towards him, he puffed out his shoulders and glared at me in attempts to look intimidating. Abby remained upset. It seemed like she was emotionally unable to look anywhere but the ground. I don't think I could do it again, but we should go back and see how many times Greg wrote seemed in this, because he seems to say seemed a fucking lot, and it's just not justified. Now within a fair speaking range, I tried to sound optimistic for the sake of Abby's emotional state, comma, hey Abby, were you at art class today, I asked. She wasn't. She wasn't. What the fuck are you doing? What? Her boyfriend stepped in front of her to block my view and said, are you the kid that called her the other night? I responded, yeah. I burped, sorry. We're... Just ignore him, James, Abby said, mumbled loudly behind Seth. Wow. You didn't start a new paragraph. It's just... I wish you could see it. But it says, yeah, we're... And then, the next line is just ignore him, James. Abby said, mumbled loudly behind Seth. How do you fucking get the balls to charge people money for this? I got it. I didn't pay any money. I have a 30-day free trial of Amazon or Kindle Unlimited. I downloaded it for free, and then I'm going to cancel it because I don't want Amazon Unlimited. Kindle Unlimited. I don't read a lot, and I know that that's not good, especially because I'm writing my own book, but I read books. I have a lot of books on my Kindle, on my iPhone here, but not enough where I need an unlimited subscription. Let's just put it that way. Seth looked back as if an hour... wow. Sorry, that was my bad. Seth looked back as if an arrow had just been plunged into his chest. Abby then walked around him, looking only at me, and said, "Will you walk me?" But paused when she saw my face. Abby's facial expression changed quickly to shock as she asked in an alarmed tone, "What happened?" Her boyfriend busted out laughing. "Oh, you didn't see this idiot get wrecked by Jason? He didn't even fight back. I would have had that jock prick choking in his own blood in seconds, but you just took a beating like a... ... Abby interrupted, screaming, "Shut up, Seth! You sadistic freak!" Seth's that's weird to say. Seth's grin turned into a scowl. He rapidly stepped towards her, so I blocked his path by stepping in front of him. "You put your left foot in, you put your right foot, fuck." Seth looked even more mortified than I had ever seen a person get. You don't look mortified, really. You feel mortified internally. Sadie! In such a short time knowing him, you don't fucking know him. We don't know him. We don't know anything about him, other than he, for some reason, is yelling at Abby. I could see he had a number of mental and emotional issues. More so than I understood. Oh my god, are you kidding me? Are you fucking kidding me? Oh my god, how much more do I have? I'm sorry, I need to see, because this is fucking, oh, it's almost over! Okay. Alright, here we go. Seth didn't even try to get past me to Abby. He let his voice reach her with his screams. "You have no respect after what I've done for you?" He ended that in a, question mark. "I'm Ron Burgundy?" Abby replied, "I'm sick of this, Seth. I want nothing to do with you." Her voice cracked as Seth screamed once more. "I want nothing to do with you. If you're ending this again, I... ... If you're ending this again! Exclamation point. I... ... He didn't know what to say, but in his eyes I could see a deep, intense hatred. Man, James, you need to go, overseas and talk to our enemies over there. Because you can apparently fucking see what everybody's feeling. Our enemies, fuck, whatever. When I looked in most people's eyes, I saw all kinds of things. Maybe I should read this as James is an actual alien or something. Is an actual mind reader. Maybe I'll spice it up a little bit. When I looked in most people's eyes, I saw all kinds of things, but in him there was only anger and pain. His hands were shaking furiously, his breathing noticeably irregular. He was losing it. How do you know what's irregular for him? You barely fucking know him. Abby still refused to look at Seth as he threw his tantrum. He yelled, "Fine, be with a guy who can't even protect himself, idiot!" Seth got into his car as Abby tightly grabbed my arm. You didn't need to put tightly there. Her eyes remained closed like she was scared, hiding in a shell. She jumped at the sound of Seth slamming his car door. Recklessly, Seth floored the gas pedal and his car lurched forward, barely missing Abby and me as he pulled out of the parking lot. I'm shocked that he used Abby and me, which is actually correct. Abby stood silently by, with her eyes still closed. I didn't know how to act in a situation like this. Trying not to make things worse, I just said, "I will walk you home to answer your question." Abby opened her eyes but remained silent. She nodded. We had been walking for a while, every step making us feel like we were slightly further from our problems. Please stop speaking for other people. Thanks. She finally spoke. So I was in art class. Oh my god. Art class is capitalized. A-R-T. Capital A-R-T, capital C-L-A-S-S. It doesn't know. And I saw your cut-up bear. I responded, yeah? Creepy, right? Sadie, inappropriate. I don't... No, I'm just kidding. Yeah? Creepy, right? Maybe it was a foobar idea. She laughed a little. She's just humoring you. Yeah, I guess we're both kind of weird. I was all game for it. I softly laughed as I began to feel raindrops hitting my arms and neck. I hear running is just as bad as walking in the rain, I said. You get just as wet? Why is there a question? What? Oh, my God. Alright. So there's no comma after walking in the rain. It said, I said, and there's no comma after that. You get just as wet, question mark, end sentence. And then she replied is not even capitalized. Hiccup. Yeah, something like that. It's like the harder you get... Wait. Yeah, something like that. It's like the harder you try to fix some problems, the worse they get. I impulsively asked to confirm what I had seen earlier. So your... Seth... is... She interrupted, hopefully soon completely out of my life. Oh my God, like... Dialogue is such a good way to explore who your characters are. And not so much for these guys. My curiosity overtook me, comma. I asked, comma, what happened? She frowned and said, other than what happened in the parking lot? I responded, well, I mean, I dunno. Don't say anything you don't want to. This is so fucking juvenile, it just sickens me. Oh, I'm so glad she always jumps up here, which is very nice, but I'm glad she's here now, because I'd rather look at her cute little face than this bullshit! She stared at her feet as we continued to walk. I noticed her makeup was running. I spit fucking all over it. Shortly after, she noticed too, and began to rush us getting home. Unless you open up a compact and look, you don't know that your makeup's running. You know how many times I've been at work and I'm like, yeah, I look really good. My makeup was like on point today, and then I go into the bathroom like 4 hours into my shift and I look at myself, I'm like, no, what the fuck? What has happened? Walking faster, she said. Yeah, we know she's walking faster because we're rushing home, stupid asshole. I'm sorry, I really don't want you to see me like this. She continued to rush slightly ahead of me. I stopped walking and said, hey. She slowed down and stopped, still facing away from me. Like, the way that he's writing certain things is, it gets too descriptive to the point where it just looks sloppy. Because the fact that she's walking ahead of you and he says, wait up, she stopped. She stopped in her tracks. That signifies that she's not turning around and facing you. So you don't need to say, she slowed down and stopped, still facing away from me. It's just, that is too needlessly verbose. She stopped in her tracks. That's it. You would think of somebody stopping in their tracks, and they just stop. They don't stop and then turn. She stopped in her tracks. Suddenly turning towards me. Something like that. Right? Right? I'm going to bite your face off. I'm going to bite your face off later today. It's going to be great. Anyway. We stood in the rain for only a few seconds before she asked, do you think makeup really helps anyone? I replied, still looking at her back. I think it helps us forget what we don't want to remember. It lets us pretend we're a little more perfect than we really are. Whoa, whoa. Okay. Sure. She laughed sadly and said, "That's one way to put it." I smiled and replied, "Makeup is just makeup, and skin is just skin. It is what it is." Abby looked up at the rain for a moment, and then down at the ground again. She then turned around with her rain-soaked face, revealing what she was hiding under her makeup. Standing before her in the rain, looking at the results of what she had suffered, it broke my heart. What? I'm guessing this is implying that she was hit in the face for something, but he didn't say it. Abby wasn't worried about her makeup running for the reason I thought. Wow! For once something... Oh my god. Yeah, see, she was just afraid of what I would think when I saw... No, you... She was just afraid of what I would think when I saw the bruises on her face. Some just like mine. "Do you see them?" she asked with a quiver in her voice. No, that's not worded correctly. With a quiver in her voice makes it seem like somebody somehow placed an arrow quiver into her vocal cord. "Do you see them?" she asked, her voice quivering. Without restraint. Like this is also like the 6th time that he's done something impulsively or without restraint. Like, sometimes people just do things and they don't have to think about them. You know, sometimes that happens. Like, but every single time. Oh no, I just read ahead a little bit. Without restraint, I responded with the first thing that came to my mind. "I see beautiful girl, who I very much enjoy walking with in the rain." It disturbs me a little bit that pretty much what we're seeing with this Abby and James character is kind of how and we know this because we've followed Greg online. We're seeing his like courtship rituals and how his mind thinks when he gets into a relationship, kind of that there's this inexplicable bond between them, like in Twilight. Like, there's just no rhyme or reason as to why these characters are together, other than they just fit like gloves. And that's a thinking that I know I went through when I dated my boyfriend when I was like 20, that, you know, we got along really well and I was very like emotionally connected to him. But when people like, you know, then we broke up and I was like, I still love him, all this bullshit that everybody maybe at one point goes through. And, you know, it's like, well, what is it about him? And I'm like, I just, you know, we're just totally there together. Like, you can't explain it. And as you grow up and you learn more about yourself and stuff like that, you realize, like, it's kind of bullshit. Like, it's nice while it lasts, but when it comes to, like, real relationships between people, like, there's more than just, I don't know why, you know? Like, you can be on the same wavelength as somebody, but then, you know, you come up with your own thoughts and ideas, and they don't, like, it's okay to not mesh with somebody on every aspect of things, you know what I mean? I don't know, I'm just randomly, I just went on a tangent because I just thought this just creeps me out. Like, this creeps me out because Greg creeps me out. Oh my god, I've been here for an hour and 4 minutes. Alright, let's finish this turkey. Her head fell forward as she began to shake, her tears almost in sync with the rain. I walked up to her and put my arm around her side and walked with her the rest of the way home. Oh, I missed a sentence. You don't care. As we got to her doorstep, I said, I'm just 7 letters away. Call if you need anything, okay? 7 letters away? What does that mean? She smiled and nodded. See you tomorrow, she asked. I replied, I got suspended for 2 days. And then, the period is outside the quotation marks. She looked offended. Wow, punishing the guy who got beat up? Classy. I responded, yeah, well, I pushed him back. She replied, clearly not hard enough. I laughed sadly, looking down as she unexpectedly wrapped her arms around me. Despite it being so cold out and her being soaked, it was the warmest hug I had ever received. I hugged her back, said goodbye, and walked home with a huge smile on my face, bruises and all. End chapter 2. Thank the fucking Lord. Hallelujah, hallelujah. Anyway, I feel like Greg, here we go. I'm now doing something that I've been berating him for an hour doing. But I'm going to do this in the context of what I know about him. I feel like what's going on is it's like he's almost trying to cash in on like teen romance novels. Kind of. That's what it seems like, you know. Because they're popular now, and just from what I've read so far, it is in essence, I guess, a romance novel, sort of. Not one of those romance novels, but like a romantic young adult novel. But my skin's really dry. At the same time, the way everything is written, it's just like you don't know any of these characters. You don't know what any of them look like. You don't really know what any of them are feeling, except for the fact that fucking James hates everything, and apparently him and Abby are exactly on the same wavelength for just no reason other than they are. And it's kind of bullshit, and it's kind of stupid, and I have a work email that I'm going to look at right now. And that's basically it. Hang on a second, I got a really funny email. I think, I'm gonna say it a million times, but he should have copy edited this. There is no rush in getting out a novel, because if you really want a quality product, like, you're gonna take the time to finish it and do a really good job with it. You're gonna take that time. You're gonna do that research about how to properly fucking format things. Okay. You're gonna take the time to do all that. It's like Gordon Ramsay said one time. He was like, what the fuck? I'm sorry. He was on an episode of Kitchen Nightmares that really resonated with me. He said, like a restaurateur was like, oh, but it's gonna take a long time. Like, they're gonna really want their food. And Gordon said, a customer will wait for good food. They're not gonna, if it takes a little bit longer, and then the meal comes and they bite into it, and it's like the best fucking filet mignon they've ever had, they're not going to worry about the fact that they waited this time to get it, you know? That's the thing. I feel like I felt like, I don't know how long ago that he was talking about writing a book, but it's like these words were shit out and no care was given to them. He'll tell you that there's care. You know, he'll say, no, I care about it. But like, from a critic's point of view, it looks so haphazardly thrown together that it's just laughable. And just the fact that he's charging that kind of money for it, $6 in this world, whatever. But to charge your fans, who you know are going to fucking shell out, to charge them money for a book that you didn't even proofread is abhorrent. That's really, I think that's shameful. And he won't feel ashamed because he's a fucking narcissistic prick. So, that's the end of chapter 2. I don't know how many more chapters we have, but we'll keep going if you want me to. So that's it. All right, take care, bitches.